This show is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/ElderScrollsLorecast.
Robots Radio presents The Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, a place where the Elder Scrolls community can come together to discuss the boundaries of our knowledge about the universe of the Elder Scrolls. All right, adventurers, it is Thursday night, which means that it is time for the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, and it's been actually 2 weeks since the last episode. I was having throat cold issues and didn't want to get on a microphone and sound like a frog and barely be able to talk while doing our patron episode this last week. And Bribwan actually just jumped off. Hopefully he comes back. But we are here with our patrons.
I'm here.
Okay, good. He's still here. We're here with our patrons, me and Lotus of Doom. This is Robots, your host, and we are live Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/robotsradio to chat with our wonderful patrons, our big supporters of the show, our tier 4 patrons, about our favorite side quests today. So let's just, I need to introduce Lotus. Lotus, how's it going, buddy? How are things?
Things are pretty good. I'm actually kind of glad that last week's episode got postponed because I was away for my anniversary, so I wouldn't have been able to make it either. But now I get to hang out.
Yeah. So it kind of worked out. I apologize for missing a week. I always try the best I can not to do that. I considered putting out a kind of half-baked little episode, kind of tide things over, but I decided that we'll just wait. We'll do a real official episode. These episodes usually go long anyway, so it's kind of almost like a double episode. But yeah, so we got that going on. And before we dive into all of our patrons, I want to remind people that although Lincoln isn't here this week with us, he is heading up some new events for our guild, the Lorecasters. So if you are a part of the guild, if you're on the PC side of the guild, or if you are on one of the console sides of the guild, then definitely check out the notifications that are showing up in Elder Scrolls Online or on the Discord to see if you can join in any of the events. I believe right now the conversation is, say, World Boss runs on Tuesdays will be a thing. So check in. This may be updated by the time this actually comes out. But here, let's jump into our patrons. I'm going to go alphabetically down the list. Some of these regular faces you will have heard or voices you will have recognized. We have Bob. I called you Bod. I'm going to call you Bod from now on because you're so ripped.
Bod Jaczynski.
Bod. Yeah,
Bod Jaczynski. So where's the beach? Over there, dude.
That's very nice.
Bob, how's it going, buddy?
Good. Heck, glad to be here.
Awesome. And then Bribwan's back. What's up, Brib?
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it has been a little while. It's good to be back. I've still been listening to things and watching things and playing ESO, but now I finally got some time to come out and chat with you guys. Awesome.
I'm glad you're able to join us, and I'm glad you've continued to keep supporting us even when you can't be here. But it's especially fun when you get to join us for the conversations because you've as you've proven in some of our previous episodes with some of our quizzes and things, you've got a good mind for the lore and conversations about this stuff. So it's always exciting for me to be able to talk with you about that stuff too. And then returning KungfuKangaroo, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
How are things? Have things been for the last month?
I too was sick recently. I had to take a few days off of work this week because I was afraid that I might have had COVID.
Oh, no.
But thankfully, I got my test result back today. It's negative. Very thankful for that. So,
yeah, well, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I didn't really have the COVID symptoms, so I wasn't too worried about it. It was more of just like lost my voice for a few days. But yeah, it was kind of just like a nose and throat thing. But I'm glad you're not dealing with that. That's definitely no good.
Yes.
And can have lasting repercussions. But if you are out there dealing with that or you have family members, my thoughts go out to you. Hope you are
best wishes.
Doing the best and getting through it. It is not a joke. But let's talk about some happier things. We've got to bring this around to Elder Scrolls and talk about some of our favorite side quests. And this, one of the questions came up before in the pre-chat. Lotus asked the question, is a DLC a side quest or is that a main quest? And we decided before we came out for the show that DLCs can be included as side quests because they're not part of the main storyline of the main section of the game. They're added on. So technically we would consider them side quests. So who would like to go first? I'm just going to open this up. Does anybody want to jump in and share some thoughts on some favorite side quests?
I can volunteer to go last.
Bob wants to go last. All right, Kung Fu, why don't you kick it off for us?
Sure. So I was thinking about my favorite side quests for a while. And honestly, I think, it's funny because most of my characters, right, are these guys that charge in there with a battle axe and just, very confrontational, not stealthy. And yet, my favorite side quests in the whole Elder Scrolls series are probably the Thieves Guild ones from Skyrim and the College of Winterhold ones from Skyrim.
Yeah.
I just think that from a storyline perspective, those are so cool. Like, they're so immersive. They feel so different, too. Like, both of those quest lines do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
so,
the whole dynamic with...
Oh, go ahead. Keep going. I was just going to say... I was going to frame it a little bit, but go ahead. Keep going. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, the whole dynamic with the villain. I can't remember his name for some reason right now. It's
Naramo?
The villain from...
In the Mages one?
Yeah, Yes.
Oh, Arcano.
Yeah. Arcano. That's what it was. Arcano.
Yeah, Arcano.
Naramo's in Elder Scrolls Online. Arcano. Yes.
Arcano.
Very different people.
Arcano was a pretty compelling villain for me, and maybe that it could also be because I really hate the high elves in Skyrim. In Skyrim, they're very easy to hate in Skyrim. To be fair, they make them that way on purpose. But
pretty easy to rip on. Period.
Arcano specifically felt like such a capable adversary. Maybe I'm wrong in that perspective, but
well, yeah, he's
so I really like those.
Very powerful magic user trying to he was using the Eye of Magnus. Was that what that was around?
Yeah. Which has itself an awesome background in the lore. The Eye of Magnus. Yeah.
So would you go if you had to pick one over the other? You've got that one. You've got the Thieves Guild with the whole nocturnal and the thieves. What is it? The Nightingale armor and all that stuff going on that side of it. Which one?
I would go with the college.
One. The college one.
I would go with the college. Yep.
Interesting.
Even though I don't really play many mage characters, I would go with the college.
Right, and it's because of the storyline. It's because of the characters and the storyline.
100% because of the storyline. 100%.
Interesting. So.
And also, being able to go under is cool. Being able to go under the college.
Yeah.
Oh, remember that part? Yeah. That part was pretty cool.
Okay, so to jump off on that, have you ever done the summoning thing in the Midden?
I've never figured it out. It feels cryptic.
Yeah, with the hand with the
the rings, right?
So and the rings are scattered throughout the college of the students, and if you put each of the rings on, it summons the spirit of I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's like a dread pirate or whatever, and you can. Yeah, you can go in whatever I think you fight him if I remember correctly.
That's awesome.
And then you can find his treasure. It kind of sucks if I remember correctly. It's not worth it. But
you get to fight a pirate, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that same dude is actually in Elder Scrolls Online too. He's one of the rare boss spawns that will drop from a dark anchor. It's the same dude.
Oh wow,
pretty cool.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
Yeah, shout out to Camel Works who taught me that.
Yeah, man, callbacks.
That is not me being creative. That is totally Camel Works is the one who let me. He's got a great video on it. It's super interesting.
Huh, that's really cool. So when Skyrim came out, I remember conversations in podcasts where people were likening the Mages Guild's quest to Harry Potter. This idea that, it's a school for magic users and everybody has the different disciplines and all of that. Do you feel like there's relations in the Mages Guild to, say, movies or Harry Potter or anything else like that?
Certainly.
Is that a connection that makes it appealing to you, or is that just kind of like, well, yeah, it is, but I'm really not into that stuff as much?
More the latter. So I think that there's certainly a lot of tropes, that they threw in there. There's a lot of elements whenever you're going to talk about magic, because it's been so overplayed in the media by now. There's going to be a lot of similarities no matter how you take your story, right? And to some degree, I think in storytelling, if you make it completely foreign, people aren't going to like it. So that being said, I think it's intentional to make some parts of it familiar to people. However, and I might get some flack for this, which is okay, but I do not like Harry Potter. I just don't.
Yeah, it's just not your thing.
Yeah, I don't. The same thing. It's just not for me.
It's not compelling. It's like, okay, little British wizard saves the day. I guess
it ain't my thing.
It's I don't like it that much. I mean, if it's on, I'll watch it. And I'm not like vehemently opposed to it. But
I hear that. I just don't care. I'm just like, whatever.
Exactly. I'm not like. When I was in school, like the new thing was like, oh, did you read the newest Harry Potter book?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
No, I didn't.
You guys are 90 kids or what?
No, I did not.
Childhood. I remember going to the book fair and getting Harry Potter in elementary school.
My favorite thing to get from the book fair was sea monkeys. Not even books.
Yeah, that was the thing. So, Bob, you're big into Harry Potter then, huh?
I definitely have some great memories of reading all the books. Actually, totally just random, but me and my dad always used to read together at night, and we always read Harry Potter kids. I mean, I was 6 years old, but cool memories.
Yeah, my daughter was big into Harry Potter. She fourth grade, just on her own, was like, I'm going to read Harry Potter, and just dove right in. And just picked up the books and just ran with it. Yeah.
Those are pretty thick books too.
Yeah. They're legit. Well, I guess sometimes it just depends. In her case, it seems like she just picked it up on her own. But with you, Bob, it's almost like a family thing. What do you call it? My mom was always obsessed with the Lord of the Rings. So that was my bedtime story was the Lord of the Rings, which I guess in hindsight was probably kind of weird, but
nah,
so cool, though.
Nah, that's cool.
Yeah. That is not weird.
I have a not weird.
Yeah, my mom's more of a dork than I am. So
I have a 3.5-year-old. The biggest book on her bookshelf is the Lord of the Rings, because I read to her every night, and I'm just waiting. She's not into the pictures, so that I can read the Lord of the Rings to her.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah. I've read through them with my 10-year-old when it's been a few years, but we read through The Hobbit and all that. Yeah, totally. So let's wrap this back around to Elder Scrolls. Does anybody else have any thoughts about the Mages Guild questline in Skyrim?
Just a question. Has anybody done any of the other Mages Guilds in any of the other games besides Skyrim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've definitely done Oblivion, but it's
okay.
been a long time.
Oblivion's pretty much one of the connections. I mean, the further back you go, that if you talk Morrowind, it's real weird. But
wait, hold on. Something's really weird in Morrowind. What?
Morrowind's weird. That's weird.
Bonkers.
So the reason I bring it up is just I didn't know. Some people really got bent out of shape. I don't know. I guess I don't care enough that it would have bothered me. But the fact that you deal with magic a lot in the College of Winterhold, as opposed to a traditional mages guild like in the previous games, other than needing to cast that initial fire spell, you can actually have zero clue how to do magic whatsoever and completely just. Because I just sword and shielded my way through it. It's just I'm going to cast this spell, and it was shield bash, you're all done. We're not doing this. Did that the reason I bring it up is you had to advance through ranks and stuff like that in Oblivion and collect roots and learn how to do alchemy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Did that seem weird to anybody else? I guess I never noticed it until it was brought up, and I'm oh yeah, I'm not a mage at all. I'm terrible at this.
I thought it was a little I don't know. So it felt a lot in line with the entire shift from Oblivion to Skyrim, which was, let's make it more accessible for everyone to do whatever and however, so that builds weren't necessary, so to speak.
It seems very disjointed, though, especially when at the end when you become, say, like the leader of the college, and you could have no experience with casting magic or anything having to do with magic.
Well, sometimes leaders don't need the highest qualifications.
That's valid. It's like, all right, students, today we're going to learn how to do sparks.
I know this one spell, sparks.
Sparks.
That's all we teach.
No lightning.
College of Sparks. That's all you get.
College of Sparks.
Funny.
Yeah, that makes
Sparks
sense.
is my last name, so this sounds really interesting.
See? So you were destined to be
Sparks University.
Yep, you were destined to run that college.
But like I was saying, it kind of fit just within the whole, because if you look at the leveling system, the evolution of the leveling system from Morrowind to Oblivion to Skyrim, suddenly there's no more like special type system that you have in Fallout. You know, you used to have that in Morrowind, you used to have that in Oblivion, and then poof, it's gone.
Right.
And so that changes a lot. That changes a lot of the play style, I think. And you have the skill lines, which are the constellations, but you can like respec pretty much any time you want. And so that changes a lot. I mean, it's not that simple, right? But it's not a huge detriment if you decide at level 15 that you don't want to do this anymore and that you want to do something else.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it became role-playing light in a way. It was more of a like active combat adventure game with role-playing elements. If you really wanted to sum it up. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Good summary. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and I thought about this, and I thought about it specifically when I was listening to one of your older episodes. I forget which one it was, but it was one of the older patron chats where I think you were mentioning like the difference in setting between Morrowind and then Oblivion, then Skyrim. And I think it's been a while. The reason why Morrowind was so weird was because it wasn't home. And forgive me if this is a little crass, but it wasn't home of the white guys.
Yeah,
it just wasn't.
Yeah,
and then Oblivion comes out. Okay, home of the white guys.
Right. And here's medieval Europe with magic.
And then Skyrim comes out. Home of the Nords.
Yeah.
Home of the white guys.
Vikings with snow.
Right. Oblivion was like, here is Southern Europe, and then Skyrim was like, here is Northern Europe.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah. And so I think that's why Morrowind had such a different feeling to it. Of course, being an older game too, but it was home of the Dunmer.
Right.
So I wonder in the future if we're going to see another game that's set in a home of a Mer race.
Yeah. Like an alien race or a humanoid race.
Right. And I wonder, because that panders to a more niche audience, and I know they're trying to expand it.
Yeah,
I would love that.
That's a good question.
I've heard a lot about High Rock being the next one, but
chances are we're going to be dealing with Bretons and what's the other one? Redguard, which are humans. They're just more humans.
Yeah, humans and humans.
Different types of humans. Here's more humans. Here you go.
Is as far in that direction as you're getting is like, okay, half Mer. That's
about
really
as close as you get.
But at the same time, like, I don't know. I could see it would again be very grounded in realistic basis, but it would be kind of cool to see a lot of the architecture of that area, less so the Breton, because I mean that was Imperial and Breton have very strong ties with architecture types, but the Red Guards have some very cool unique
it's a mix of like Islam and Africa and like these other.
It's got a lot of cool influences.
Yeah, but it's all very it's all just more variety in humans to what Kung Fu is saying. It's not as foreign as say if we went to the place where the Khajiit are or the Argonians or the the High Elves, any of these other races that are further away.
Right, even going to Valenwood or something would be, okay, we have like walking tree cities and horrible nightmare bugs everywhere and stuff. It's like, okay, this is still pretty weird.
Yeah.
Imagine the Wild Hunt in like, in the next Elder Scrolls.
There's your AO rating.
Cool. That would be amazing.
Yeah. I don't know that they would do that. I really don't see that being
they wouldn't.
a direction that they would take
As much as I really like Elder Scrolls Online, they briefly kind of have like a reference to the Wild Hunt in the Eldmeri Dominion storyline, and it is hyper toned down. I was like, yeah, you can't really cover like even saying half of what's going on in this already.
Yeah. They're trying to keep it, like 13 plus age rating. They want to be able to let kids or teenagers at least enjoy the game and not have their parents go like, oh, what is, like, Mom, I'm just playing a game. And she stumbles in and there's some sort of like weird, like carnal orgy where people are eating each other and having sex all at the same time. Yeah, like
not going to get too many parents being like, well, this seems good for you.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine. Oh, keep playing your game, honey. This is fine. Yeah, no.
Yeah, the it is funny though that like this series is referenced as being like kind of like when it long lost its like teen rating quite a while ago, and like I know they even tried to have ESO be able to be received by a wider audience, and it absolutely did not, and it got the M rating pretty quickly as well. So it's just, I don't know. It's interesting to think of this series as like kind of not quite so advanced in like the mature category, but it has been for a while now, especially with Dark Brotherhood storylines and stuff like that.
Oh, totally. I mean, it like even early on, like some of although the artwork is very primitive and pixelated, you had like characters that were topless or like. Like it was designed initially as an adult game, not an adult game, but like a game for adults,
but
right?
It's for adults. Yeah. Right. There are some clips from me playing Arena where it's just like, I lost it when it's very 90s because, that's how games were back then. But one of the inns, like I was like, oh, who's this out front? And there's just a person like, in super scantily clad, like sort of robes, plural. It's really like most of one robe. And I tried to talk to her and she's just like, oh, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm a whore. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool. I guess we're just going to cut right to the chase on this. So it's like, it's pretty funny that it's like toned down in some regards, but like the series has never been like really kid friendly.
And I can tell you from just demographics from doing podcasts that the average age of people who listen to this show compared to the Fallout show is about 10 years older, just on average.
Yeah.
It just shifts up.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's. I think it has to do with topics and things like that. And also Fallout became something that was a little bit more palatable to everybody. But even though there's dark, crazy things that happen in that too, but
yeah,
who knows?
That one I feel
was
got
say dark nuclear
apocalypse
is more kid friendly.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bloody mess perk.
I mean, there's totally cannibals. There's totally all sorts of terrible things that happen in Fallout, but for some reason we just look past it. But here, let's move on the conversation because I want to give these other guys definitely a chance to chime in too. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
No, I mean, I think we pretty much touched on all of it.
Cool. Yeah, those are some great quests. Some of my favorites as well. All right, let's go down the list alphabetically to Bribwan. Bribwan, what do you got? What's one of your favorite side quests?
Yeah, so real fast, I was an interesting comment. I'm thinking about this from we were just talking about. Rowan, my daughter, she'll come down in the morning and like do her puzzles and stuff, and I'll play ESO and she'll watch me, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing Fallout 4, I don't let her watch Fallout 4, which is interesting enough.
Yeah. And I think you're right, because I did the same thing with my daughter when she was little. Because there were things I could do in Oblivion. This is all the way back to Oblivion. That like I could, because I knew the game enough, I could manage what things she saw, and fighting something with a sword or shooting a fireball wasn't particularly terrible. But you know, you have the bloody mess perk in Fallout, and you shoot an enemy, and all of a sudden they splatter into a billion guts. Yeah, and like your 4-year-old's going, "What's all the jelly, Dad?" You know, and it's like, "Oh, don't look at that."
It's strawberry.
So anyway, I was thinking about this. I'll just give you my stream of consciousness and then zero in on one of them. But the reason I like these games so much is because you have so much freedom. So I know they're not side quests, but I love Antiquities line. I like house building. Like those aren't really quests, but they are kind of they give you a path to go down. As we were talking about in the pre-show, when I've been building this build, I've been trying to get some Undaunted pledges for my monster set in ESO. I just did, what is it called? Is it called Moongrave Fane? Is that one of the dungeons?
Yep.
I just did that one, and I've done Darkshade Caverns 1 and 2, but I redid Darkshade Caverns 2, and I really liked both of those quests. I just thought they were fun to play through because they had some different elements. Than kind of the traditional grind. I think if we're concluding expansions, then my favorite side quests is probably the Shivering Isles from Oblivion.
Oh, nice.
I just loved the goofiness of Sheogorath and the stark contrast of the two worlds, or I guess it was like one, but it was, what was it called? It was like Dementia and I forgot the name of the other world, like part of the island.
This is one of those things that's going to pop in my head as soon as we're done with the show. I'll be like, this is the word. Mania. That was it.
Mania.
Yeah.
And I just thought that those were so unique looking, like based on, that, European medieval fantasy world, which I loved Oblivion, but like to go in there and to see Sheogorath's craziness and then like to actually play through that was I like sometimes when I'm just like I do this with video games because I play a lot of them and they're usually associated with certain times of the year, just they happen to be that way. And then that time of the year comes around and that certain game pops into my head, and so like very frequently the Shivering Isles just pop into my head, and I just have this urge to go play.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Lotus and I have talked about this before too. This idea that like you were talking about how you hadn't gone through some of the story stuff yet for Greymore because it feels like something to play in the winter. Wasn't that what you were saying, Lotus? Or something like that?
Yes, that's very much why I've been. It's kind of nice. It dropped in temperature a bunch, so I was able to like go entirely through the story and catch right up. And now I'm ready for Markarth, all because of like
the temperature change.
Feels right.
Yeah,
like, temperature change. Let's go.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like I've recently jumped back in. We were talking about this on the pre-show to World of Warcraft, and the MMO gods are going to smite me down because I'm talking about World of Warcraft on an Elder Scrolls podcast with Elder Scrolls Online being a thing. But I enjoy lots of different games, and I jumped into that and I thought about it and I was like, you know what, there's a new expansion that always comes out in the fall every 2 years. This is when I jump in, I play for a few months, and then I fall off it and I go back to Elder Scrolls Online. But yeah, it's that kind of, this time of year to me feels like World of Warcraft, and it's weird, like, and there's this thing in the back of my head that's going, you got to go play Markarth. But then there's like this instinctual side of me that's going, but it's time of the year to play World of Warcraft. And I'm like, it's like the two sides are competing. So
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. I've had that before where I feel obligated to a game, but I'm like, but I don't want to play it. I want to play this other game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay.
That's me like always.
ESO is Bob's forever game.
It's crazy, man, honestly.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. So, okay. So you covered a few different things here. The idea of like doing these little side things as side quests, but then also jumping into dungeons that you haven't been in before. How far have you gotten in the dungeons of Elder Scrolls Online? Have you
I've
done DLC dungeons? Have you?
Usually when I'm doing dungeons now, I do plan on. I'm also part of the Lore Seekers Guild, and they have a trial group, so I'm trying to find some gear up to that. At which point I'll focus more on like the dungeons themselves. Because right now I just do everything normal to either get Undaunted stuff or just to complete it for the achievement sake.
Yeah, totally. That's usually what I do, unless I feel secure in my current character build to pug a veteran. That's usually what I end up doing. It's rare that I need to do this more often with our guild events, but I need to jump in more with our guildies and coordinate doing veteran and veteran hard dungeons. But
because I've done about 80% of the dungeons.
Okay. Yeah. It's kind of neat having and Lotus can speak to this way better than I can. Experienced the dungeons as they've been released over the years. And the complexity and the way the storyline gets told through the things happening in the dungeons. I think it would be really cool to do some guild events where we actually go through them maybe in order of a release and pay attention to the stories that are being told. Because there's a lot of cool stuff in there. And most of the time you just kind of blow through it because you're just trying to clear it in order to do your Undaunted pledge or whatever. But there's definitely a lot of cool stuff.
Totally.
I will say one little point about that, because to me, there's with the DLC dungeons, there's a big difference in when the dungeons would come out before they were doing the year of this. So now when they have to create a dungeon, there's a lot of extra stuff that they really have to consider, and themes they have to play with and different things that they kind of have to have in it. And I'm not saying that they're not as good, because I still have really enjoyed some of the new ones. Ice Reach is probably in my top 5, but I think that in the majority, hasn't been in the last 2 years where it's the year of this, not all 4 were dungeons that came out were stellar. Some of the years before it was man, you got 4 dungeons, you got Bloodroot and oh my gosh, Ruins of Mazzatune, and then you got Cradle of Shadows and the other, it was just all of them were they were very a bit more challenging in the way that there's not so much going on that you're trying to keep in, because you're oh man, this is part of the whole thing, and they're giving you a lot too sometimes in some of these dungeons. And I feel Lair of Marsalok is the best example of the one that's I feel a bit too the dungeon side of it kind of got left out, where the cinematic side of it is kind of the representation of all of what's going on is kind of bigger. But like I said, I still love a lot of them that have come out, but I do think that there's a difference when they have more of a story to tell.
Interesting.
It's interesting you say that.
Yeah, go ahead, Lotus.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I kind of follow what you're saying. So some of the situations, and I mean, if you've played them as they've released over time, you can definitely see them trying different approaches with things, for better or worse. Usually, for the most part, for the better, because the dungeon design and trials are generally really, really good. But the stories to the dungeons have started to synergize a lot better, obviously, because of the whole seasonal thing per year. Because before it would be, here's a dungeon pack. These 2 dungeons could relate to each other, but they likely don't relate to anything else that's coming out. It's just these are 2 little side stories. And then once it became the year of, it was okay, well, now this is here are 2 dungeons that will lead you into this thing. And then that DLC goes into the next one, and blah, 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 blah.
Everything connects.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool, because the stories have definitely become more involved. But then, like Bob said, sometimes it's it's hard to tell though, because what people like about different dungeons is weird. How can I explain this? You had mentioned Ruins of Mazzatune. I hate that dungeon. Can't stand it. It's just not. it's not a type that I really enjoy. And the problem is you can occasionally have situations where it might not be the design team's choice, but people will find some type of cheese that can become a thing that people will latch onto. And it's like, okay, this is not as much fun as just doing the dungeon. But then if you're not doing it in a group of people, you'll get left behind because it's like, oh, I'm doing a pug and nobody wants to do it the right way. Everybody wants to do it this stupid way and
Everyone
try to
wants to
bypass
sneak
it.
by the ads.
Yeah, let's sneak by all the ads. It's like, no, let's kill the ads. Let's smash them. Like,
hey, that's a tank mindset. Okay,
That's a tank mindset. Smash all the things. I'll take the damage. I don't care.
But then you have, you've got these more elaborate stories and DLC dungeons for if you are new to the, dungeon scene, so to speak. There are base game dungeons and then there are DLC dungeons, and it is a whole different beast of difficulty where mechanics became much more involved. And then as they've progressed, this year I find really shows it more than previous, where the idea seems to be let more people experience vet. So vet isn't quite as difficult, but then the hard modes, which is yet another thing added on to the dungeons, really gets cranked up. Whereas before, some of the other dungeons, the hard modes would borderline be, here's the thing, it's the exact same thing, but now it has 2 million more hit points. There's nothing else different.
Yeah, it's very, very inconsistent. And from somebody who plays more casually than you do, Lotus, I don't always remember the name to associate it with which dungeon it is, because I didn't incrementally learn them as they came out. So now it's just like, oh, here's the next one on the list for my quest. I'm just going to go do it. And I just did the last one on vet. I should be fine. And
I should be fine.
And maybe I'm my tank character, and so I'm like, that'll be fine. And then I end up in a dungeon and I'm like, I vaguely remember this from a year and a half ago. Crap. And I'm like, there's something I need to remember here, but I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Right. And mechanics have become much more a focus. And one of the things when we had Mike Finnegan, the dungeon lead on the other show that I host, Tales of Tamriel, when he was talking about just the design choice is kind of having like a better stair stepping, like, okay, here's, normal, and then there's vet, and then there's vet hard mode. But some of the old vet hard modes were just do this dungeon wrong, and it wasn't even like an activatable thing. It was keep 3 Daedros alive during this fight in Banished Shells 2. Yeah. Or don't pull this lever. And then it's not, there have been situations where it's like, you can't physically do that hard mode if your team doesn't want to do it. There's no on-off switch.
Right.
And now they've gone to the point where it's like, well, you can have an on-off switch. Before it was an on switch and that was it. Like, so there was a situation with Trials. You would trigger the hard mode, and this is really in the weeds, so I'll just stop after this. But sketchy people, when you would do pugs for Trials, they would actually ransom your trial team, as ridiculous as this might sound.
Yeah.
Because the jump in hard modes could be rough, and you would trigger a hard mode in a trial by breaking an artifact usually. And when you break all of them, it would trigger hard mode. People would break 2 of the 3 things, like 2 of the 3 glass orbs, and they'd be like, okay, give me 100,000 gold or I break this 3rd orb, and nobody clears this because you can't do it. And it was really sketchy.
Oh, man.
And they've now changed that, so that type of thing, it was a learning experience where now it's like, okay, if you put up the challenge banner, you can take the challenge banner down, because that was just awful. Like, you could ruin a trial for a bunch of people because of that. So you can see the evolution of how they've designed difficulty and stories as they go.
Humans are the worst.
We are pretty sketchy.
We're pretty sketchy. Oh man, yeah, that sucks.
Especially trials, man. You get people like, all right, I got the advancing Yoki to dagger. Let's see people start bidding. Like,
Oh my, yeah. For gear that you helped, but unlock yourself, but you just happen to get some random thing based on RNG, and it's like, well, buy mine. It's like, okay, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, all of this goes to say, and some of you guys are having conversations in the chat too about this, that like sometimes you just want to get through and enjoy the story, but everybody rushes through because they just want to complete the dungeon. Or sometimes you end up with a situation like Lotus is saying, where somebody tries to ransom the dungeon. Like this is what happens on the internet when you're with random people, because they don't care. They don't know you. They don't care. But it's one of the reasons why it's nice to have guildies to do stuff with, and whether that's with our guild or another guild, this would be my recommendation. If you want to avoid these kinds of problems, find a guild, get to know the people, say hi every time you log in. People will start to recognize your name. And then if you don't want to try something out for the first time, you haven't tried, just say, hey guys, I want to jump into this dungeon. Anybody want to help me out with it? I haven't done it before. And there's almost always, once the guild is large enough, there's almost always a few people who are like, yeah, dude, let's do it. So that seems to be the solution.
Yeah. And the overall community in Elder Scrolls Online, kind of based, I think, maybe on the maturity factor, like you had said. There's always garbage in any community, but for the most part, this is a very positive and helpful group of players, just on whole, especially coming from like some of the more competitive games that I played. It was like, wow, I feel like most people would just be mortified to see some of the chats from other games outside ESO, where it's like, oh yeah, the worst from ESO is usually like, that's really not that bad at all.
Yeah, right.
That guy is still kind of a douche, but it's not that bad compared to some of the vile garbage you get from other games.
Totally. Well, I feel like we've kind of wrapped around this conversation pretty good. Bribwan, is there anything else you wanted to add to this?
I don't think so.
Cool. Yeah.
All I would say is I hate Moonhunter Keep, and literally a week and a half ago, I just did like a random dungeon 3 days in a row, and every single day, my random dungeon was Moonhunter Keep. I was like, This is absurd. This is so absurd. And I tank, and it's kind of mechanic heavy, even in normal. And if people are new, like I'm helpful for them, but sometimes they just don't get it, and I'm like, this is just
that White Wolf is quite the pug killer on Vivette.
and the lurcher, like in the garden, like he's so easy to kill, but nobody understands to like get the Spriggans, right? Like, so they just keep hacking at them, and I'm like, oh
yeah, it's like the health is not moving. We have to do something different. We've been here for 9 minutes, and you still haven't noticed the health hasn't moved.
I'm telling you. Look at the Spriggans, or something like that. And but anyway,
that whole courtyard, even when they're turning you into the freaking rats before, it's like, my God.
Well, and it's funny, just to quickly tie that into story, the NPCs are like telling you what's happening, like as part of the story in there, but nobody listens.
That's right.
So like they're borderline shouting at you how to correct the problem you're currently in, but everybody's just like, I don't understand it. It's like, if you would stop saying how much you don't understand it, you could listen to them explaining how it works.
That's right.
Humans. That's all this comes down to.
Yeah. We just mentioned how sketchy they are.
Yeah. Humans. Sketch. Totally sketch. Totally sus.
Totally sketch.
All right. Well, let's jump into the middle of the show real quick and do our the stuff that we got to do there, and then we'll come back for the second half and we'll talk to Bob and Lotus about some other stuff. All right, here we go.
The skies are marked with numberless sparks, each a fire and every one a sign.
So today is our Patreon. Holy crap, words. Those are not two of the same things. Our Patreon special. This is our celebration thanking our patrons for being here. Our tier 4 patrons are, of course, joining us. And in the middle of the show, of course, I always have to say thank you to the rest of our patrons as well for being there to support the show. You guys are amazing. You're what helps keep the show going. And every one of you is furthering my goal to continue getting closer and closer to doing full-time content creation. So I honestly can say that without your support, I wouldn't be here creating this content and having such a fun time with this community. So thank you so very much. You're helping to further that dream. If you're interested in helping support the show or joining us on a future episode, check out Elder Scrolls Lorecast on Patreon, patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast, and check out all the different tiers. You can get ad-free episodes a day early, and you can even join us on a future episode of the show. I'm also going to add in the ability for you to hear the extended versions of our regular shows. So the episodes that go up for patrons are going to also include, after the credits or the little end music rolls, any of the conversation that happens with us talking to chat, answering some questions or whatever after the show as well. And sometimes that actually goes on for a good, 15, 20 minutes. And there's some really funny stuff that happens with these like post show, not as official conversations that happen. So if you're interested in getting a little bit more content, then you can also subscribe in order to get that. Check it out. All right, let's get back to our discussion.
Yes, you're entirely brilliant. Conquering madness and all that. Blah, 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 blah.
All right, Bob, it's your turn. You're up, buddy. What are we talking about?
Okay, so yeah, earlier today, probably about 2 hours before we're going to start, I was like, man, I should probably ask what we're actually talking about today.
Yes. Even though I send out notifications early, I note them in other places. Bob's like, hey, dude, what's the topic?
To be fair. Yeah, well, anyways. But so yeah, I was like, Sidequest, cool. And then, I thought of some stuff, and then you guys were like, but DLCs, are they side quests? And I'm like, yes. It's like, okay, throw everything out. Now I have to think of some different stuff. But anyway, like, I feel like last time we talked, I went on for a while about Southern Elsewhere, so I'm not gonna choose entirely Southern Elsewhere and all that, even though I would. But
that's your true love. We understand that, but you can visit some other places.
Zaji, Casca, amazing. But keeping it within the Elder Scrolls Online realm, because that's just my thing. I, as Brib did, I'm gonna go with more of a thematic concept as far as side quests. Nothing in particular, but Elder Scrolls Online clearly is special because it has content coming out and coming out and coming out. It's been 6 years. So they have an opportunity, unlike a lot of the other games, to continue expanding on a lot of the, special character foundations that they built within that base game. And a lot of those side quests where you get involvement with a character that you have met from way back when. And then all of a sudden,
like Naramo, who I mentioned accidentally instead of Arcano. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those quests are honestly, to me, probably some of the best in the game. And there are a lot of awesome characters that take place in, just to shout out a few, some of my favorites, of course, always involving the one and only Razumdar. I mean, the cat's the best, and you see him all over the place.
Yeah, so anybody who doesn't know, anybody who doesn't play Elder Scrolls Online, Razumdar is a Khajiit, and he is like head of the Queen, the Aldmeri Queen's Secret Service.
Yeah, it's her like personal guard.
Yeah, and he totally plays it off like he's just some casual Khajiit just hanging out, and Razumdar has a thing for you. Maybe you should look into it. Razumdar doesn't care though. Like he's totally like smooth like that. But when it comes down to it, he's 100% capable and a super awesome character. So go on.
And you see him all over the place. He's in Aradon and the whole, pretty much all of the Dominion quest line. And then you get to see him in the Gold Coast as well, and a delve there. And he also, of course, plays a very pivotal part of the Somerset storyline, being a, mainly Aldmeri storyline.
Are you going to bring up when the little quest in Elsewhere where his who was it? One of his past relations is like pissed off at him.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That one's
all his Khajiit,
his Khajiit ladies, the Khajiit ladies. There's one in particular, and then more come out, I believe, as the quest goes on. But yeah, they're like, Razamdar, you said you loved me forever, and then you leave me, and yeah, and he's like, oh, how could I ever leave you? You are my whatever, he's using Khajiit love language stuff. My moon sugar under the midnight sun, or whatever. I don't know. But
sounds like a telenovela.
I have no idea what that is. But
why is the sun out at midnight? What is happening in this world?
It's elsewhere. Who knows? Under the two moons in the dawn of the beginning of the evening. I don't know.
Those super dramatic Hispanic soap operas.
Yeah.
The telenovela.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was some influence for these. But hey, sorry to jump in there, Bob. But that's when you talk about this stuff, that's what really comes to mind.
Yeah, totally. And then, so you got Razamdar, totally awesome. Another one that I see all over the place, and is actually one of the recurring quests I do just to get a certain item. But anyways, Gordo the Knife, who is a awesome orc, big, strong dude from the DC Daggerfall Covenant, best faction. But you get to experience him and all that through the Daggerfall Covenant story. You also get to see him in Hrothgar, home of the orcs. And the quest that involves him is freaking awesome because you get a named Briarheart dagger. So if that's something you're looking for.
I thought
that is he the one that's always around there's a quest line in the Daggerfall Covenant where there's like two goofballs that are always trying to like hunt creatures for money and they always screw up. Is he involved in one of those or not?
I don't remember in particular.
They always hunt harpies.
Yeah, the harpy hunters. I think, unless I'm mistaken, I think Skordo is with them at one point.
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, I think he starts with them, and then he's just more influential because he's less of a screw-up, if I remember correctly.
That's a pretty funny side quest, because I think you see him in all the base DC zones, and they're always, like, screwing up.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then you get to see him in Southern Elsewhere, too. And, what's up?
Harpy Hunters or Skordo?
Skordo.
Nice.
Yeah, he's all over the place. And then the last one I wanted to bring up, of course, the one and only Naryu, because, she's amazing. And also all over the place. You get to see her in the Evanart bag. Plus, you get to see her in the Gold Coast. She's kind of the one who leads you with Morrowind.
Is she your ESO waifu?
Maybe. There's a couple of options there, but
oh, you've got a few of them. Okay. All right.
Sounds like our next episode topic.
Got that hot res action going here.
Yeah, the reason why Bob isn't on camera right now is we would see the full body pillow behind him on his bed with her like printed on it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway. That's not true. Bob doesn't do that. Don't take me seriously.
You don't know that he does.
I don't know that he does it.
It's not on camera. I can't prove that.
Yeah,
that's true.
There's a reason why I'm not on camera. I'm just kidding.
I had a college roommate that had a full body pillow. That was fun. Anyway,
well, that story took a weird turn.
Body pillows without being weird, just pillow cases, right?
Yeah, it was a full body. It was like really like the length of his bed. It was really long, and he'd cuddle it.
6'2", and I have a full body pillow, but I just sleep with it. I don't do anything weird with it.
Yeah. He's the kind of guy who he's the kind of guy that when I wasn't in the room, I was wondering.
No, not a full body pillow.
Anyway, moving on.
So hard to stay PG.
Yeah, those are some good ones, Bob. Those are definitely some favorites. I've lots of memories from each of these, so I'm having a hard time like pinpointing one thing to continue on. Do you guys have any other thoughts about the stuff Bob said? I'm gonna pass it on to you guys. Any experience with any of those?
I mean, the only real add-on I could put into that situation is, even though I'm lukewarm on the Daggerfall Covenant, I will say Scordo is a wicked cool character who I'm super glad came back. I couldn't fully remember exactly. Ishii streams confirmed that he does start with the Harpy Hunters and then kind of go off on his own, but I am a big fan of Scordo. He's just a cool character. He's like gruff without being like over the top in your face about it. I don't know. I liked him.
I just remember loving the Almeri Dominion's quest line, and I find an ESO gets you in this mindset that something bad's always going to happen. So I remember throughout the whole quest line being afraid that Razumdar was going to die. And I was so happy that he didn't, because he is a great character.
Yeah. Another character that I really enjoyed coming back was it Dorian? Is that his name?
Darian.
Dorian. I'm bad with names. This is why I have notes when I do shows. Because he comes back for the Somerset expansion, and he just like Darian. Like, yeah.
I would chime in, but we are so off base with the name. I'm like, somebody say a last name or something.
Dorian. It's one vowel sound and one vowel sound different.
Yeah, Darian Gautier or whatever.
Yeah. And but you don't notice him at first because he's all in his night gear and he's working for Meridia, and he just like all of a sudden falls out of a portal. I love that. I've mentioned this on the show before.
Bread that he's nibbling on in the base game.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. And the fact that he just showed up and was like falling out of portals and then going back into them while I was in the middle of just running across the countryside. I was like, what is going on here? And then you find out it's him and you're like, oh.
It's like when you stop and turn around, you're like, wait a second. There was a dude there.
Yeah.
I swear.
Yeah. I loved that because it broke the rhythm of the game. Like after playing an MMO for so much time, you get used to it. You're like, get the quest, go fight these things. Nothing happens until I turn the quest back in. Then maybe something triggers for some characters to have a conversation or whatever. But that stuff would just kind of happen while you were running around, which made it feel more alive. And I hope they continue to do more of that in the future. But he was also a really funny character, I thought. So cool stuff to bring in there. Looks like Kung Fu is having some technical difficulties. Hopefully he'll pop back in here in a second.
Fixing his audio.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, fun stuff. Let's Lotus, I'm going to hand it off to you, buddy. You got some side quests you want to talk about?
Okay. So the reason I asked whether we would count DLC or not is my favorite side quest. If we're going to go, on the DLC counts as side quest, was the final Skyrim expansion, the Dragonborn expansion, where you go to Solstheim, and that is like the absolute pinnacle of what I kind of wanted. I'm a huge Morrowind junkie. That's my favorite game. And the first thing you do when you ride up on the boat is it plays the theme song remastered in Skyrim. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then while you're there and exploring around the island, which is, it's battled over where it goes, whatever. It's got the Morrowind vibe to it. And I'm like, oh man, this is so great. And then it turns out that the main antagonist, but also kind of the guy helping you're fighting Mirak, who is basically the specific Dragonborn Reaper, who's a real douche. They make him a great enemy because he steals your souls from dragons that you rightfully earned by me bashing their faces in. They really make you not like him. And you're fighting for the unrequited love of Hermaeus Mora, who is my favorite character. And I'm like, that's
Lotus's waifu, by the way.
Ever wanted.
Speaking of waifus.
Speaking of waifus.
Lots of tentacles.
Hermaeus Mora. Yes, extra tentacles, eyes, and smoke.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, it's fine. You just whatever you hug, it's probably there. I don't know. I don't know what you do with a Hermaeus Mora. But yeah, I absolutely loved that whole expansion, and it was just strange that two of my favorite things were combined into like one expansion. I'm like, well, okay, this is just designed to be my favorite. So that's why I was curious, because I love that expansion more than I actually like most games. So
wow, that's high praise.
Just like it was, in terms of Elder Scrolls stuff, the expansion is enormous. Like that is it's a full island with full quests and everything like that. I don't know. I'm a big fan of that. But if I was going to just throw something short for like not DLC, the Dark Brotherhood quest from Oblivion is also incredible.
Yes.
They're all pretty good. The Dark Brotherhood ones tend to be very well written, but man, the one in Oblivion is dark. And really, really good. So it's a nod to that if you didn't want to consider DLC.
I absolutely love that quest line. I think that was was probably my favorite part of Oblivion. It was the quest line that really made me feel pulled in to what was going on with the world, and I think it was one of the first times I realized how much depth and unstated depth was behind everything, because so much of it is about Sithis and who is the Dark Brotherhood? Why are they doing these things? What is the nature of these beings that are influencing the lives of mortals? And like this, that was the thing that really brought me into, okay, this thing's a lot more layered than I expected it to be. So, very, very fond memories of that as well. You guys have any thoughts on any of the stuff Lotus brought up?
I'm ashamed to say, but I played through Skyrim 5 times minimum, which is like not a lot. I have never, and I have DLC, but I have never played through it, the Dragonborn DLC.
Oh my God. Cease and desist all other things.
Go do it. This is your homework. This is your homework assignment before we get back next month. Go knock that out. That will be the topic next month. You have to play it. There you go. Right there. I'm kidding. But highly recommended.
I'm kidding, but not really.
I'm kidding.
I feel obligated to ESO because I want to do like my dailies and writs and build my gear, but I want to play.
Oh, it sucks you in.
There has to be obligated to ESO because I'm going to pass him in CP in like a week. So,
uh-oh,
it's not good.
It's not good, man.
Not good. Well, I think all the stuff you guys brought up this week are awesome things. I have one very specific side quest that I want to bring up. It is the first side quest I encountered when jumping back into Elder Scrolls Online after like 3 years of not playing it. So I had played it initially when it first launched. Played it. I've talked about this before. Kind of fell off it within a few months. Never really got to max level with my character. Things felt a little too grindy, a little too redundant, and the world didn't feel fleshed out enough at the time. So I put it on hold. I said, okay, I'll come back and I'll play this again in the future. Then they had the One Tamriel stuff. They had Morrowind come out, and time went on, and eventually I was like, okay, I definitely need to jump back in here because I love the world. I love the Elder Scrolls. It seems like people are very positive about this game now. Going to jump back into it. So I loaded up my Nightblade, was in the middle of like Deshaan or somewhere. I had no idea about where anything was on the map. I had no memory of where I was on my quest line and didn't know what I was doing at all. So spent some time trying to figure out, okay, what gear do I have? Do things even work the way that they used to? Do I need to rebalance my character? Do I need to finish a quest in order to get some XP real quick to level up? What do I need to do? How does this even work? And I'm wandering through some other area. I don't exactly remember which area it was because I was so disoriented at the time. Came across a woman who was like, hey, I need your help. I need you to help me. And I was like, okay, what's the deal? And I wasn't even planning to, I was on my way somewhere else going, okay, I need to go find the main quest lines, go do that. But I was like, oh, it's a little side quest. And it was this little side quest, and I'm probably going to not describe it correctly, but somebody's going to fix this because I'm sure you guys have probably run across this. And she's like, hey, there's, I think it was something like, there's a something that stole an item and I need to get it back or something like that. And she's like, yeah, it was like a rat or something. I don't remember what it was. A little tiny monster. And I went and fought it and I got her thing back. And she's like, oh, but it's actually over here and it's this other monster. And so I went and did that and fought that and then came back. And she was like, no, it's this other thing. And then went over there and it was some gigantic creature. I don't even remember what it was, but had to fight this gigantic creature. And she sent me on this like loop. And it was just this idea that this character was like just playing me in order to go do all of these chores, and then sent me on like this death errand. And I was just like, really? This happens? And she was playing like she was like some damsel in distress. And I was just like, that's awesome. This was the first side quest I come across in this game. And that's the kind of stuff they're making me do. That's great. Okay. I'm down with this. And I probably mistold parts of it. I need to go back and find that quest again. But, it wasn't the specifics so much as it was the attitude of this is what's going on, the misdirection, the damsel in distress, and then sending you off on some goose chase in order to do something. And then all of a sudden, of course, the end is not what you expect and it's something else. That was huge. I thought that was amazing. And then from that point on, I was like, maybe I should be doing the side quests. Maybe I don't need to mainline this and try to just finish the story and level my character just doing the main quests. Maybe I should come across things and do them and actually read the text and listen to the characters talk. This sounds really cool. So that's what got me going down that path. And I've actually been considering jumping back into Markarth, which I haven't jumped back into yet because, as I mentioned, I fell into World of Warcraft hole. But I want to jump back in there and start doing some more like Adventures of Sir Robots, and putting it up on the podcast feed for you guys to listen to me role play a character through those adventures, because I think some of the adventures are so really interesting and well written. So I'm excited to jump into that stuff. So that's my perspective on it. What do you guys think?
Well, I was going to say one thing I love about this podcast is that it makes the side quests a lot more interesting because you learn about the lore and you're like, oh my gosh, like I literally just learned about it on a podcast and it like randomly pops up in a side quest in Grotwood or something like that, you know? It makes it really interesting instead of just doing the MMO grind to get to late game content or something.
Yeah. And when a character says something like, oh, by so-and-so and names a character that you know the name of because you've actually invested in the lore, and you go, oh, or, like happens to drop like Vermina in a conversation. Like if you don't know the lore, you don't know what that means. But if you do, you go, okay, is this person poisoning people and making them sick? Like there's some sort of association here with Vermina. So something's going on. That's a red flag. But if you don't know the name, you don't know the lore, you don't get that until all of a sudden it's like obvious and in your face.
Right.
For me, I'll say I love this podcast. And I remember when I first started listening, Tom's all over here like, oh man, I'm going to do every quest before Elsewhere comes out.
Yeah, that was my goal. I got pretty close.
Yeah, man.
There's stuff
you gotta keep it up. Dude.
There's stuff in the
you get that Tamriel Hero title, dude.
Yeah.
Is that the one for 1,000?
No, it's for completing like each zone's amount of quests and then including all the ones in Cyrodiil too.
Oh, that's actually not that bad.
Yeah, I got pretty close. I've done the biggest place where I don't have quests finished is in the Aldmeri Dominion. But I've been through almost every other zone and knocked out all the quests. Pretty much everywhere else.
Half of the Rift and East March, and then I've got it.
Wow, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah,
all right,
nice.
That's what I'm talking about. The EP zones are the toughest because they have like, if you go look at the Grand Adventure for each zone in Ebonheart, they're like all plus 50. So
Yep.
like, whoo,
Totally.
Yeah, it's definitely steep, and even though they're my favorite faction, their quests are a little more disjointed, in my opinion, than some of the other storylines. I don't know. It just bounces around a decent bit compared to, a little more of a linear connected story of, very much Aldmeri Dominion, and then slightly less Daggerfall. And then, EP's a little jumping all over the place.
Just don't like the EP because maybe this is my experience, but they just like wreck everybody in Cyrodiil. At least like
that's because they just run around with freaking Zergs of like 40 people. Like that's all they do. Like the whole server is coming at you every time you fight the Don't get me started.
Yeah, we don't want to get Bob started because I'm here busy trucking everybody in Cyrodiil with my Zerg.
It's all Lotus with a multi-box.
They never deny it.
He has 40 accounts.
Exactly.
He just multi-boxes them.
I got 40 accounts.
That's why this is why he doesn't pay for the subscription, is because if he paid for subscription for 40 accounts, that'd be $15 times 40. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's more than
like $600 a month.
For that.
That's almost as much as my child support payments were back in the day. No joke.
This is like part of my impetus for my new build was literally so I could go solo into Cyrodiil and not be just wrecked by EP. Like that was literally part of my motivation for my build.
Yeah,
that's a good way to do it, honestly, especially in Cyrodiil. Like, it's a good way to start and get in there because you could get your feet wet and just try and get a little bit of damage out there, but still have some fun with some survivability. So, honestly,
yeah, cool stuff, guys. I feel like we're getting to the end of the show. Why don't we go through? We'll go backwards through everybody and do some shout outs and anything that you want to talk about that you're doing, you want to rep, or just letting people know how to get a hold of you. Why don't we do that? Let's go back to Bob, and then we'll finish up with me and Lotus at the end. So, Bob.
Sure. Yeah. Start with the one who's going to talk the most first, right? So, let me pull out my long list here. So if you guys want to ever chat anything Elder Scrolls, I'm always in the Robots Radio Discord. You can also catch me on Twitter at Bob_Chachinsky. But most importantly, go check out our podcast. We're part of the Robots Radio Network, the Red Diamond Courier. We're always talking all things Elder Scrolls Online, in-game stuff, plus all the other, news and etc. Plus, you get to find out how your faction's doing in Cyrodiil. You hear us talking about EP in there. Find out whether the Daggerfall Covenant is leading all of them or not.
Every time someone says not, EP, I hear EPing, and then I'm like,
To be fair, it makes your EPing better if you join the EP. So.
It's not a coincidence.
But anyways.
Go check out their show. They'll update you on all that stuff every week.
Robots has even been there, and Lotus too. There. So
we've been there. Yeah, we visit. We go on vacation there sometimes.
It's true. It's a great vacation spot, beautiful views, etc.
Yeah,
we're in Cyrodiil, in the Imperial City. So
yeah, awesome. All right, Bribwan, what do you got?
I would just say if you want to reach out to me, I'm on Discord or Instagram at Big Bear Bats. That's what my logo is. It's my side baseball bat company, like we've talked about before. It's kind of strange, but anyway.
No, it's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah,
I was saying it's very cool.
Thanks. But other than that, I don't have much. I just say that take care of yourselves in from a mental health and a physical health standpoint in our crazy world right now. I think
for sure
important to do that. And so however you need to do that, I give you permission to do that.
Thank you for permission. Awesome. And KungfuKangaroo, how can people get hold of you?
If people would like to get in touch with me, they can reach me on Twitch. It's KungfuKangaroo. Replace the O's with U's. If you want to reach me on the Discord, it's just KungfuKangaroo. Gamertag on Xbox, that's primarily where I'm playing right now. That is just the letter N, and then you spell out the word 7 space and then the word legend. So it's N7 Legend. So reference to Mass Effect if anyone plays that game. So,
yeah, totally.
Yep.
Lotus, what do you have going on lately?
Not too much. I started on PC, so as one of the extra life things we had mentioned. So I am on PC now. It's still not my main account, but I do float around there. I'm trying to get up to 160 CP so that I can run pretty much any vet stuff. a group with people. That's why I made the account. But yeah, other than that, I'm Lotus of Doom pretty much wherever. If you need to get a hold of me, you want to just, chat or whatnot. And then if you're interested in listening to me more for some reason, I am also one of the co-hosts over at Tales of Tamriel with Hyperpixie, who hit us with a nice raid a little while ago. Also,
thank you.
Shout out to her for making the official ESO stream team. Very, very deserving. So I'm
congratulations.
Super pleased to see her join the team. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it from me.
Awesome. And thank you also to United Wastelanders Network for their raid as well. We've had both Hyperpixie and United Wastelanders Network raid the live show. And if you guys haven't been joining the live show, come join us, say funny things in the chat, try to get us to crack up, because I enjoy doing that to other shows. So come do it to me. So thank you, everybody, for being here. The one thing I want to call out, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that we're starting up some more guild events. So if you want to join the Lorecasters Guild, just check out the Discord. It is in the show notes. There's a link. There's a bunch of other links in the show notes for all sorts of things. So go check that stuff out. And I am doing a treadmill morning workout thing on stream. I'm trying to do at least 3 times a week, start probably Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. But come join me. I'll be on stream 10:30-ish in the morning Eastern time, playing games, chatting with you guys. It's a great time for you to just jump in and keep me company while I play games and walk on a treadmill, because I raise my desk up and I put a treadmill underneath my desk. And it's actually very difficult to do, because playing games and streaming is like multitasking, because you're now talking to people, managing the stream, and playing the game at the same time. But once you start adding coordination, like moving your legs and running around with a character, it gets really weird. So come enjoy that. And if I fall down during the stream, I will give everybody something for free.
You're not giving me a lot of confidence, because my other extra life goal is I need to run a 5K while doing vet dungeons in ESO on a treadmill.
It's use a controller. It's a good thing you prefer controller.
Yeah,
that's easier. Moving a mouse while okay. So here's my quick description, because I've got the miles per hour thing on the treadmill readout, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I start out around 1.5 to 2 miles per hour, it's pretty regular quick walking pace, right? You go up to 3 miles per hour, and now you're pushing like a light jog. You get up to 4, and you have to jog, right? Once you hit that 3 mark, your head is doing this while you're walking. So the screen, everything on the screen is moving, plus your shoulders. Oh yeah. So if you're trying to manage a mouse while doing that, you can't aim at anything. It doesn't work. So you need a controller. Yeah, so it's...
Luckily I do, but that's still... Just hearing I do a walk, and it's like, oh man, I was going to try to make... obviously my timing ain't going to be great.
You can do it. You can do it.
I was like, oh boy, this sounds... I just need to surround myself with a lot of pillows, so that when I inevitably face plant during the stream, I at least roll into pillows.
Right, and make sure you have the little clip. I've got the clip right here.
Yeah,
the little clip. Yeah, the little belt clip, because that thing, you snap it on, it pulls off, turns off the thing. Because if you don't do that, the treadmill will tear your flesh off, and then you will never be on a treadmill ever again. The other thing that's super weird, just to kind of add it in here at the end, is the fact that you are walking forward at a brisk pace, or jogging in your case, and then all of a sudden your character, because when you're running around, you're not only moving forward, right? You move sideways or backwards, and your brain goes, my legs need to change direction.
Oh boy.
Yeah, super weird. It's super weird. So practice before you do the whole running thing. Maybe that might be good.
And those will probably be the saddest vet dungeon things imaginable.
Weird. People are gonna be like, "Why did you die this time?" And you're because I hit left. They're gonna be like, "What?" And you're like, "I hit left with my."
I tried to dodge roll, but instead I sidestepped in real life and walked off the actual treadmill.
Yes. Yeah, it's so weird. But it's one of my goals. I want to get in better shape. I'm a number of pounds heavier than I was in the past, and I haven't been exercising as much, all that stuff. So this is what I plan to at least get started by doing this. Also, if you get some of the stream loot packs, which I was giving away earlier in the chat, some of those have things like make me do 10 push-ups or increase the speed of the treadmill. So there's all sorts of fun things you can do to make it harder on me. So anyway, sorry, what was that?
left.
Or you turn left, hit the left button. Oh God, no. Yeah. Oh, there's some funny ones like play one-handed, or turn your headphones around, like put the left on your right ear and the right on your left ear. So somebody's going to come up with some sort of concoction of cards where they spam like 3 cards at the same time that just throw me for a loop, and I'm going to die, and I will die on stream. And
Just blindfold.
yeah, blindfolded, and I'm gonna be like, oh my God. And then I'm going to faceplant. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. All right, enough of this. If you're interested in coming hanging out with me, I would really appreciate it. I love just chatting with you guys while playing games and stuff. So that's it for this week's episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you to our live Twitch chat friends and the people who raided and the people who brought the raids and those of you who are listening in your ear holes while doing all the other things you're doing. Thank you for supporting the show. I really do appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week. So stay safe out there, and until next time, I don't know, find a way to relax, because everybody, we need to relax. The world just needs to be like, it's been too stressful. Everybody just,
I'm always relaxed.
Yeah, everyone be Bob. Everybody be Bod Chichinsky. Where's the beach? All right.
Where's the beach?
We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. All sounds and music are owned by Bethesda Softworks or ZeniMax Studios, and no copyright infringement is intended. If you have something you'd like to contribute to the show, please reach out to us at elderscrollslorecast@gmail.com or on Twitter @ESO Lorecast. If you'd like to help support the show, check out the rewards you can get at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. I really appreciate you listening, and I'd love to hear from you soon. And thanks to our patrons for support, especially our Tier 5 patrons, including Noodle Al Dente.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.